What's next for Aussie US dollar? Before we dive into this video, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us to grow the channel and helps us to bring on more exciting guests for interview. Now let's make a case for the Australian dollar strength. Jumping onto a gold chart here, you can see that prices have rallied from the 1815 level all the way up to the 1932. That is a move through October around about 6.5%, pretty much eradicating the move that we saw in September, which was about 7.5%. So we've only got 1% to go before we've completely turned around from that September bearishness. October showing us that the gold is finding some support and we're seeing a huge move to the upside. Now, Australia being a huge exporter of gold, usually what you'll see is if gold prices are performing pretty well, the Australian dollar can find some strength. We also have seen a rise in the September services PMI in Australia. It actually jumped from 47.8 to 51.8 in September, which was the highest reading since May. Now, the downside for the Australian US dollar price is the fact that the US dollar index, or the US dollar in general, has remained pretty resilient. If we take a look here at the US dollar index, for instance, price is still technically within that upward trend. We found support at the 105 spot 50s and we've rallied. However, today we are starting to see a little bit of a decline in the US dollar. So let's go jump into the Australian US dollar prices and we'll take a look at some of those key levels. If we're having a look here on this daily chart, you can see I've planned out a few levels already, but price has been pretty much trading between the 0 spot 65 handle and the 0 spot 63 support, and price is now back down at that 0 spot 63. So the way I like to see things is that if we're at resistance, price may start to push to the downside. If we're at support, buyers may step back in again. Now, the reason why I'm expecting maybe some buyers to step back in is because we've seen such a huge move in the price of gold. The dollar index is at an area where it could be a little bit toppy and we could see a little bit of pressure on the US dollar. So the Australian US dollar price may actually start to push back to the upside here. Now, this daily chart is showing me that if we were to close like this, that is a pretty strong rejection of key support, and the next level of interest would be back at an area of resistance. Now, we may not be shooting for the 0 spot 65 handle because that has been used as resistance quite often, but what we may look at is the previous daily swing high. That swing high comes in around about the 64.40 level. So if I was just to put in a resistance level around that point, we could potentially see a move up into this area here for a retest. Now, that could offer some traders different types of opportunities. If you're an end of day trader, you may look for price to pull back before looking for a move up to that point. If you're a lower time frame trader, let's say you're a swing trader, so you like to trade the 4-hour time frame, you can see that price is potentially breaking into new highs here. That could then become support to look to target this zone of interest. If you are a intraday trader, so you may be looking at your hourly time frame, for instance, again, you can see how price has consolidated through here. We could expect maybe if we do get a move overnight of a big push to the upside, a retest, and then a continuation. Now, like I said, there are some downside risks to Aussie US dollar price. That dollar has been pretty resilient lately, and we'd need to see some of that US dollar give back some of those gains in order to see the Aussie US dollar price push lower. But I think it will if we do see a breach of the 63 handle. A break and close below that could mean prices coming to the next level of support, which would be down here at the 0 spot 62 handle, which were these lows back on the 14th of October 2022. So nearly a year ago, we had those lows come into place. What's also interesting this week, if I just bring it over the news, we do actually have some data coming up this week that could really impact the price of the Australian US dollar. We have monetary policy meeting minutes overnight. We've also got the RBA Governor Bullock speaking, and we also have a dollar data core retail sales out this week. We also have Oz employment change. But really, we could be looking at the industrial production here from China. You know, China's outlook and economic activity really does have an impact on Australia, and you can see that there's an expected fall here of from 4.5% down to 4.3%. So that could also weigh in on the fact that we could see a little bit of downside. Now, what would be interesting to see is if the Australian dollar reaches 64.40 before that China data. If that China data is poor, we may see a reaction at those swing highs in here, which could lead to potentially a rejection and price remaining within this slight range. So what's next for the Australian dollar versus the US dollar? We can see we're currently at support. We may get a slight rebound here into the 64.40. If not, and we breach 6300, price is next support is that 6200 level. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.